What's going on, everybody? Good late morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Streaming with the Hawks Nest in about an hour. Going to talk about the Commanders game, the Cardinals game, trade deadline stuff a little bit. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about another angle of the Seattle Seahawks as we go through this season. Now, right now, I think that most Seahawks fans are very content with what is going on with this season, but that doesn't mean the future isn't going to happen. It just means that the present is very appetizing. We like the present so much that it's not quite as appealing to think about the future. But let's talk about the future a little bit after the Rashid Shaheed trade and talk about where it leaves us going into 2026. So, a little bit of draft talk right after the break. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. All right, welcome back. So, most people already know this, I think, but even if you don't know it specifically, you probably know it generally. The Seahawks gave up a non trivial portion of their 2026 NFL draft capital in order to get Rashid Shaheed. They gave up a fourth, they gave up a fifth. And some people wondered where exactly does that leave the Seahawks for the 2026 draft. We got this article here from Sports Illustrated from Connor Benintendi. He outlines where the Seahawks sit right now with their draft picks. The answer is they have their first, currently projected to be about 26th overall. They have their second round pick, currently 57th. They have their third round pick, currently 91st. And then they have one sixth round pick coming in from Cleveland, which is currently projected to be 186th. So that's not a lot. That is one day three pick. Now, the good news is we have our high value picks, right? The first, the second, the third. We've got all of that. So we've got a pretty good amount of stuff we can still attack here, and we can count on getting some pretty appealing players with those picks. But our ammunition on day three is basically nothing. We have one sixth round pick. So you guys know that I stream all 3 days of the draft. I have for a few years now. That day three stream this year is going to be rough because this is unlikely to change, right? The opportunities we had to change this would have been to like trade Reek Woolen at the deadline, trade Boye Mafe at the deadline, something like that. None of that stuff happened. And we're not going to be able to trade those guys in the offseason. They're free agents in the offseason. So, in all likelihood, this is about all we're going to have to work with. Maybe there's some kind of scenario where you cook up a trade for you can trade Drew Lock and get like a sixth round pick. Maybe something like that happens. Maybe you decide, okay, this Jalen Milroe thing isn't working out. We're going to trade him for a fifth or a fourth. Something like that. It could happen, but more than likely, this is what we've got right now. And it's obviously not thrilling, but you do have to give up stuff to get stuff. We had to give up some pretty decent draft picks in order to get a good player like Rashid Shaheed. So here are the things to consider right now as a Seahawks fan. Number one, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind, this 2026 draft class is not considered to be particularly strong. one of the narratives that is taking hold around the NFL, this draft class is going to be a weaker one, and 2027 is going to be the strong one. So giving up picks in 2026 is not, it's not the same penalty as it would be in a normal draft class. And conversely, acquiring 2026 draft picks is not seen as appealing as it would be in a different draft class. So some people thought, oh, why did you give up so much for Shaheed? Why didn't you only have to give up like a fifth? Because this draft just doesn't have the same value. There are going to be good players, of course, but it's not considered to be, I would say, anywhere near as good as 2024, and I'd say not as good as 2025. This is, I think, the main reason why the Seahawks felt like they could move draft picks in this upcoming draft. And keep in mind that, according to rumor, and I'm starting to believe that these rumors are probably true, the Seahawks actually tried to move their earlier draft picks to get Max Crosby. They were presumably willing to give up their first and maybe even more. And of course, they would have given up future draft capital, which that would have stung. But they were apparently willing to move their first round pick this year to go get a guy like Crosby. So clearly, John Schneider is operating from a position of this upcoming draft class is not that appealing. I'd rather have proven veterans than take my chances in this draft. So I think that even if not every GM in the world agrees, John Schneider does agree. He thinks this draft class is something that he's willing to miss out on a little bit. But let's think about this Seahawks team right now. Here's the thing going on here. And with what I'm about to talk about, with what I'm about to say, obviously I'm assuming the Seahawks do good things with the picks that they do have, but that should always be your baseline assumption. If it's not your baseline assumption, then you think pretty poorly of your GM. But let's think about this team where it stands going into next offseason. So offensively, they definitely don't need a quarterback. If they keep Shaheed, they don't need a wide receiver. Even if they let Kupp go, I don't think they need a receiver. They definitely don't need a tight end. They don't need tackles. Maybe they need depth. Maybe they need a backup, but they don't really need tackle. They don't need a left guard. So when you're thinking about the offense, with Walker being a free agent this offseason, you need a running back and you need a right guard. I don't think Christian Haynes is going to save the day. Maybe you need center. And center, that might be a position where you kind of decide to slum it a little bit because Sundell is not playing terrible. And he's also a good scheme fit. He's a good fit with Zabel. There might be some things going on with Sundell to where you feel like we can live with him for one more year and hope he gets a little bit better. So really you're talking about running back and right guard. Those are the two positions you really need help at offensively. And then defensively, I think you need a nose tackle. Maybe the Seahawks don't agree. Maybe they feel like their setup right now is adequate, but I would like to get a nose tackle. You definitely need edge because you're going to lose some guys this offseason. You might need inside linebacker. It depends on how you feel about Tyrese Knight and Drake Thomas long term. And you might need cornerback because Woolen and Job are both free agents. So that's kind of the arrangement right now. As of this moment, I think that those are the areas where the Seahawks need help. And you can see it's not a long list, right? You need a quality running back to complement Charbonnet because I don't think we're bringing Walker back. But if we do, okay, then you don't even have to worry about that. But I don't think we do. You definitely need a right guard because that position's untenable right now. You definitely need edge rusher, and I would say probably a blue chip edge rusher. And everything else is not clear. Maybe you need a center. Maybe you need a nose tackle. Maybe you need a linebacker. And I'm going to say you do need a corner. I'll throw corner in there as well as a definite. Even if you keep Job cheap, which you might be able to, I still think you need to experiment a little bit there. So Keep in mind, here's the other thing. The Seahawks have plenty of cap space next year. The Seahawks are going to be able to spend a little bit in free agency. Some of those needs are going to be picked up. Some of those needs are going to be picked up in March. You're not going to need to do everything in April. Like, if you need an off-ball linebacker, you can go get one in free agency for a reasonable price. If you need a competent cornerback, you're going to be able to spend money on them in the offseason. So you put it all together, yeah, 4 picks is not great. But with 3 of those picks guaranteed to be in the top 100, you have the picks that you need to fill the holes in this team that are going to be there. Because I think most of the stuff that I just said is pretty set in stone. We're not trading JSN, right? We're not trading Sam Darnold. We're not trading Byron Murphy, right? These guys are not going anywhere. So it's not like there's a lot of, unless something absolutely off the wall happens over the next 2 months, it's not like this is going to drastically change. So we don't need a lot of picks right now, right? I mean, it would be nice. Of course, you'd always prefer to have more than less. But we definitely don't need a lot of darts to fill what is going to be left on this team. By the time we get to the draft, clear of free agency, I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to need an edge rusher, a running back, and a corner, and then just depth. So, yeah, it's thin, but this is a good time to be thin on draft picks. All right, let me know what you guys think. See you guys less than an hour away from the stream. Hope to see y'all there. Go Hawks. If you can't catch it live, catch the VOD. See you soon. More stuff coming.